Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to talk about the kettlebell outside low anchor clean. We have talked about diversifying what you can do with a kettlebell. There are many things you can do: single arm training, double training, alternating training, and anchored training. We have videos on all of these. Feel free to go watch all of them. We use anchored kettlebell movements in order to change the way we are forced to move our body. So instead of being symmetrical in one line, we're making this much more like real world activity where one side of your body has to move and the other side has to stay stable. This emphasizes a lot of weird rotations that the human body is good at that's not addressed in other forms of training. Previously, we have talked about our low anchor, where we have a kettlebell in the center and we focus on that clean. We have a medium anchor in the rack position where we focus on rotation, and we have a high anchor where we focus even more on rotation. There is another anchor that we can do, which is an outside low anchor or a suitcase anchor. Think about having one kettlebell outside your body line and the other kettlebell traveling as normal. Think about this movement as forcing our legs closer together and straighter ahead. All of these have different athletic purposes, but this one is one of the fun ones that really changes up the way kettlebells work. When people start kettlebell training, because we live in the modern world, people tend to lift their shoulders up or roll their shoulders forward, which can be a problem. By doing kettlebells with one hand, we force one side into a more natural, more open posture. When we introduce the suitcase to this equation, we are going to force this shoulder back and down. Let's go ahead and start our clean. Think about this clean as being generally a very normal kettlebell clean. You will notice this bottom kettlebell swings forward and back while we're doing this movement. We can then turn this, of course, into clean and press and everything else that we normally do. Clean, one side shoulder is packed in an overhead position, the other shoulder is rolling back and down to drive our scapula down and turn our lat on as hard as we can. We are trying to work both sides of our brain when doing these things. This is just another version of coordinated skill. The more ways we can load the body and the more we repeat it, the better we get at basic human athletic movements. I like this one because it very much reminds me of different types of things you do on the farm, where you are holding something heavy with one side of your body and you have to accomplish a task with the other side of your body. It's a simple idea, but simple ideas are good ideas. They do replicate the way that the human body really works in a more natural environment. The kettlebells do not have to be the same weight. You could probably make your anchor very, very heavy and the moving weight light. You could, of course, reverse that, write a program for each thing based on the weights that you have, and emphasize both things. You can see how the programming expands what you can do with the same weights that you have, which is what we are always trying to accomplish. More training that we can actually find use for with the minimum amount of economic input put in equipment. That's always a design issue that I am concerned with. How do we get more and more and more out of what we have? Because, I grew up on a farm without a lot of resources, so I'm always trying to write programs and ideas for people who might be out in the middle of nowhere and not have a lot of resources. We can write the fanciest programs in the world that use the best, most expensive equipment, but that's not where most people are at. Most people have a limited amount of space and a limited amount of time, so we are always looking for ideas to help them maximize what they can get from what they have. Let's demonstrate it really quick on the other side. I like to get the kettlebell outside so that when I pick them up, we are already in that starting position, and then start that movement with one side. And let's turn it into that clean and press. Now one shoulder is down, the other shoulder is up. We're trying to maintain the core engagement and the lat firing on both sides. Push the rib cage down, squeeze the glutes at the top, and make sure your legs are all the way straight. Those design considerations are always there. Always stand all the way up, always pull your kneecaps up, always squeeze your glutes at the top.